On a hot summer day in 1963, a voice rose above the crowd in Washington. A voice that carried the pain of centuries and the hope of generations. Martin Luther King Jr. stood before hundreds of thousands of people, declaring a dream that would change America forever. But to truly understand the power of that moment, we have to go back to the beginning, to a time when that voice was just a boy's whisper, asking why the world was so divided. Martin was born in Atlanta, Georgia, in 1929. From his very first breath, he lived in a world split in two by the color of skin. He saw the signs of segregation everywhere, on buses, in schools, at water fountains, and in restaurants. He felt the sting of injustice in the small, everyday moments of life. A world designed to tell him he was less than. But inside this young boy, a different vision began to grow. A vision of unity, equality, and a justice that belonged to everyone. As a child, Martin experienced the harsh, confusing reality of racism firsthand. Friends he once played with, sharing laughter and games, were suddenly forbidden to see him, simply because of his skin color. Imagine the confusion, the hurt. He asked his parents questions, trying to make sense of a senseless world. He sought answers in his faith, and it was there he found his strength. His father, a respected pastor, taught him that dignity and courage were the true weapons against oppression. His mother, a constant source of love, reminded him that in the eyes of God, he was equal to anyone. These early lessons weren't just comforting words. They were the seeds of greatness, shaping the boy who would one day move an entire nation. As he grew older and went to college, Martin's search for answers led him to the writings of Mahatma Gandhi, a leader from halfway across the world. He was profoundly inspired by the idea that nonviolent resistance could be a powerful force for change, capable of defeating even the most entrenched injustice. He began to believe that love, not hate, was the most powerful and transformative force in the universe. This philosophy didn't just become a part of his studies. It became the very foundation of his life as work and the core of the movement he would soon lead. After becoming a young pastor himself, Martin's sermons started to transform. They were more than just words of faith. They became a stirring call to action. He preached that peaceful, organized resistance could break the heavy chains of oppression that had held his people for centuries. His voice, once a child's whisper, now rose with conviction from the pulpit, igniting a fire of hope in the hearts of those who had long felt powerless and forgotten. The true beginning of his journey as a national leader came with the Montgomery bus boycott. In 1955, a seamstress named Rosa Parks, weary from a long day and a long life of indignity, refused to give up her seat to a white passenger on a segregated bus. Her simple, courageous act of defiance sparked the movement. For over a year, 381 days to be exact, African Americans in Montgomery refused to ride the city's segregated buses. They walked for miles, organized carpools, and supported one another. This boycott wasn't just a protest. It was a powerful demonstration of economic and social pressure. It shook the system to its core, proving that ordinary people, when united in purpose, could challenge and change injustice. It was during this pivotal moment that Martin Luther King Jr. emerged as the clear, eloquent, and unwavering leader of a movement that would soon change the nation. But the road to justice was never easy, and it was paved with danger. As King's influence grew, so did the opposition. Threats, arrests, and bombs became constant companions on his journey. His own home was attacked, his family terrorized, and his life was constantly in danger. But every attempt to break him, to silence his voice, only made his resolve stronger. He stood firm in the face of hatred, famously declaring that darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. His unwavering commitment to nonviolence became his shield and his sword. From Montgomery, the movement spread across the South. From the streets of Birmingham to the Long March from Selma to Montgomery, King led protests that shook the very foundations of segregation. He and his followers faced down police dogs, endured the stinging blasts of fire hoses, and were thrown into prison cells. But with every step they took, With every injustice they exposed, the movement grew stronger. Millions of people, black and white, from all walks of life, heard his call and followed, believing in his dream of a better America. In 1963, in Birmingham, Alabama, one of the most segregated cities in the country, King was arrested for leading peaceful protests. It was from his solitary confinement cell that he wrote one of the most powerful and important documents in American history, the letter from Birmingham jail. In it, he eloquently explained why the time for waiting was over. He argued that justice delayed is justice denied. His words, scribbled on the margins of a newspaper and smuggled out of the jail, reached far beyond the prison walls, inspiring people across the nation and the world to join the fight for civil rights. The struggle continued in Selma, Alabama, where activists organized a march to demand the right to vote, a right that was systematically denied to African Americans. On a day that would become known as Bloody Sunday, peaceful, marchers were brutally beaten by state troopers as they tried to cross the Edmund Pettus Bridge. The images of the violence shocked the world and horrified the nation. King, refusing to be intimidated, returned to lead more march, standing at the front lines and refusing to turn back. His incredible courage forced America to confront its own conscience and led directly to the passage of the landmark Voting Rights Act of 1965. And then came that historic day, August 28, 1963, the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. Standing on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, looking out at a sea of over 250,000 faces, Martin Luther King Jr.'s voice thundered across the nation. He spoke of his dream, a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. He dreamed of a day when his 4 little children would be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. He dreamed of a day when little black boys and black girls would be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. His words became America's heartbeat. It was a moment of pure, unadulterated hope, etched forever into history, a speech that continues to inspire generations to rise up against injustice wherever they find it. But dreams, as we know, can be fragile. Just 5 years after that monumental speech, in April 1968, while supporting striking sanitation workers in Memphis, Tennessee, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. A single bullet silenced a voice that had inspired millions. The nation mourned, and the world grieved the loss of a titan of peace. Yet, his physical death did not mean the death of his legacy. His dream lived on, carried in the hearts and actions of millions who refused to let violence and hate win. Today, Martin Luther King Jr. remains a global symbol of courage, faith, and unwavering hope. His life is a powerful reminder that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. He taught us that one person can make a difference, that nonviolence is a strength, and that love is the only force capable of transforming an enemy into a friend. His dream is not just a piece of history. It is a living, breathing call to action for all of us, to continue bending that arc toward justice in our communities, in our nations, and in our world. Thank you for watching. If you were inspired by this story, please like this video and subscribe for more content that explores the people and ideas that have shaped our world.